Okay, good evening everybody and a warm welcome from the ESFI and IR Esports. Firstly, I'd like to apologize for the delay which we've had due to a small technical issue. So I'd like to apologize on behalf of everybody here. So we're actually right now already into the first sprint race, as you can see on your screen. So please enjoy the visuals of the closing stage of the sprint race as I give a small introduction to what exactly is going on here in today's stream. So firstly, welcome to the first day of the national semi-finals for the Simracing World Cup. This has been organized globally by the Monaco Esports Federation in association with the International Esports Federation on the SRWC platform for the PZ. The ESFI is conducting the national qualifiers to select the two best drivers from our country to go through the finals at Monaco. The qualifying process has been going on both online and offline at INOX, and today we have the first set of semi-finalists who are going to battle it out to get a spot in the national level grand finale. Obviously, we're going to get the semi-finalists from these races, and they're going to have that national level grand finale, which will be streamed on Monday. As said by Mr. Lokesh Suji, who's the director of the Esports Federation of India, the ESFI is incredibly excited for the inaugural edition of the Simracing World Cup, which is the largest simracing event to date, and to expand to simulator-based esports. Racing games are very popular in our country, and everyone has that nostalgic vibe with these games. This time will be on the international stage, and this will be a true representation of ESFI's commitment to the growth and development of sustainable and responsible gaming in our country. This broadcast and qualification has also been created in collaboration with IR Esports, who are India's largest e-racing organizers. IR Esports have created iconic properties in the racing esports space, such as the IERC, the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship, Mumbai's Fastest Gamer, India's Fastest Gamer, and the Indian Simracing League. We curate, plan, and execute custom motorsport-based campaigns via esports across various mediums. IR Esports is Indian e-racing championship. The IERC is India's most prestigious e-racing competition and has completed 4 seasons till date. The IERC attracts India's top sim racing drivers to battle it out for a chance to win a test in a real-life race car. Mumbai's Fastest Gamer is India's largest ever e-racing competition of any time. So, on that note, we're all set to jump straight into the action for today's broadcast. Allow me to introduce the broadcasting team for this evening. Your race directors for today are Firoz and Tanuj. My name is Saidat Ramesh, and today I'm joined in the commentary booth by my fellow motorsport enthusiast Vishal Stephens, and we're really excited to witness the first of quite a few sprint races today at the Vallelunga circuit, nestled in this beautiful Italian landscape 40 kilometers north of the capital city of Rome. The car being used today is the Tatus FA01 race car in Assetto Corsa, modelled on the standard Formula 4 spec FIA regulated race car. So, straight into the conversation we go. Vishal, you're a sim racer yourself and have taken part in many a race. I mean, an F4 car with a lot of mechanical dependence on a tight, twisty track like Vallelunga. What are your thoughts with the track and car combination, looking at the sort of pace these drivers are putting in the first sprint race?
Saidut, it's going to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, we missed a bit of the first race, and we do apologize for that. But on a track like this, one mistake into a corner leaves you exposed to attacks for quite a large part of the track. I feel the Formula 4 car can really be pushed to its limits on this track, but drivers are going to have to keep the rear of that car in check. It's very easy to lose the rear end in a Formula car, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some epic wheel-to-wheel action today.
Yeah, we must have had a few epic battles right at the race start, but by the time we've reached the 2.5 minute clock, it looks like your race leader Davli Singh has already put out about a 5.5 second gap to P2 driver Sai Prithvi. Both those drivers pulling clean away from the rest of the field, almost 20 seconds and climbing. So that just shows that these two drivers have figured out something in the formula, some style to drive this car, which the rest of the pack has not quite figured out yet. However, there is a little twist here. After this race, we will be having a reverse grid for the top 8 drivers. Looks like in this case, it's going to be everyone who's on the current grid. So those two drivers you're seeing out in front, Davli Singh and Sai Prithvi, those two drivers are going to have to start from the back of the grid for the second race. It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
And Saidut, Abhishek is closing on Jamie Shaw. It's going to be a real good battle in some time.
Yeah, looks like all 3 drivers, Abhishek, Jamie, and Amit also right behind them, are in a slipstream train right now as they go into I believe that's turn number 7. It's the first of many hairpins in this track, making their way into turn 8, Sorate. This is quite a sharp corner, so you're going to have to be really easy on the brakes. You see a bit of locking up from these drivers, just a tad bit too much, I guess, into those corners, but these three are locked into contention for sure. Just waiting for that gap, like you said. The first driver to make the mistake is the one that's going to pay
And
the most.
Abhishek has gone a bit wide. That's opened it up for Amit, I think, in the back.
Yep, it looks like Amit is catching up, but it looks like Jamie also has quite a bit of issue controlling that car through the slow speed sections. Amit hasn't quite caught up to that pack, to be honest. Maybe he's just waiting for a little tussle up ahead, waiting for some commotion up front so he can take advantage of any of the broken pieces. I don't think he wants to find himself in a 3-car wreck with potentially just one lap.
Jamie has dropped out. Something has happened to him. I saw a bit of smoke in the background, so perhaps he's had a spin or something like that. He's dropped out and Abhishek has moved into P3.
Seemed to have happened off camera. It looks like perhaps some sort of overseer or something that he caught out of that corner. Now he's playing catch up, looks like. So these three drivers are locked into contention for the final podium spot. There's a long way back between them and P6 and P7, Kake and Danny Thomas, who are almost a minute off pace currently. So they're of course going to have a bit of an advantage in the second race. There you go, Abhishek strongly holding on to P3 with the other two drivers just sort of chasing him down right now. This is certainly the last lap. As you can see on the top, the timer just went down and they're basically next time they cross the line will be the checkered flag. There's your race leader, Davli Singh. Look at that gap, it was 5.5, it's about 4 seconds right now, as it keeps changing dynamically. But yeah, that's your gap right now, and it looks like this is what the order is going to be when they cross the line.
The battle for P3 is not yet over, Saidut. It looks like it'll go into the last corner.
Yeah, it certainly looks like a bit of lawn mowing work going on there in the background. Looks like Jamie went a bit too wide on the AstroTurf. Amit and Abhishek seem to be the ones who are battling out, but it looks like Abhishek's got this in the bag, holding around the outside lest he spins. He does not, takes it away for a podium finish for the first sprint race. So that's the order right now. Davli Singh, Sai Prithvi, Abhishek, Amit, Jamie, who unfortunately had some sort of an incident previous lap, and then you've got Kake and Danny, who are still battling it out. So the battle for P6 is not yet over, so just gonna have to see what they're up to at the back. There's Kake in the blue car. Where is Danny? It's about a second behind, looks like. Yeah, as they go through the S's, they've just got one more long right-hand corner left, and I think Danny's quite far behind. I don't think he's going to be taking Kake in this race, but yeah, that's how the order stands. It's a quick end to maybe this 3-minute sprint. Don't worry about that. We've got a good 15 minutes of racing coming up right after this. So by the way, Vishal, after this sprint, after the next sprint, that would be actually the first batch for this evening, the first grid, basically grid number 1. But we do. 15 minutes is not a lot of time. And
Looks like we're back, Saidut.
perfect. Right back on the grid now. So there you go, the reverse grid. Danny Thomas up front, followed by the blue car of Kake, and then you've got the rest of the grid. That's the purple car of Jamie Shaw, I believe. Who else was there up front? I believe Abhishek was ahead of yeah, it was a bit ahead. And then yeah, it's the rest of the grid back there. Davli Singh, of course, way at the back end, hoping to make a good start.
Looks like the drivers are just running the final checks, checking if the sims are still connected, whether the wheel is actually turning.
Yeah, last thing you want is some sort of disconnection from your wheel or even a disconnection from your net. We've got two more drivers who've joined in for the second race. That is sorry, my bad, Atul Lakhotia and was the other driver. If we could just have a look at the penultimate driver who has joined, it'd be good to know. Last minute additions for sprint race number 2.
The other driver that seems to have joined us for race number 2 is Praneeth Watwe. Let's see what these guys have in store for us.
You can just see the driver in the car moving its head around a little bit, steering the car. You see it's just the driver themselves sitting in their sim as they turn the wheel and check if it's working. But we're waiting for the starting light sequence to start off once again here at Vallelunga. It's going to be 6 lights before they all go out. We've got all the engines, they scream and shout, and the lights inevitably go out. Everyone launches away. It looks like all the front runners have gotten a decent start. The two new drivers who have joined at the back taking quite a cautious approach, but you can already see Davli Singh and Sai Prithvi making a lunge for it, trying to pick off as many places as they can. All of them going through the first sequence of corners. A long run now up to turn number 4. This is where there are going to be some overtaking maneuvers. You already see Amit diving down the inside, taking away the lead. Massive crash in front, but looks like everyone somehow managed to make those spinning cars stick. But yeah, that's an amazing jump. Once we just wait for we just need to wait for the leaderboard to show up again, and we'll give you an update on who is where on the racetrack. There we go.
That's Abhishek pulling into the lead. Car number 4, the red, and there's a spin behind.
That looks like a massive spin already coming up behind. Sai Prithvi making his way through the pack. Davli Singh now still planted in 7th place. I wonder if he's the one who ran into issues over there. He's got a bit of company over there with Danny Thomas right in front. He's going to want to get past Damney and then make a move on Jamie Shaw. That's the battle you see on your screen right now. Danny in the orange car, Jamie in the purple. Danny dives down the inside. There's a bit of wheel banging over there. Jamie making it stick on the outside, still holding on. There's inevitable contact over there. Who's gone wide? It looks like Jamie's managed to make it stick, and he's got the inside line. Atul, unfortunately, going wide on that corner. Very tight section of the track.
Yeah, it seems like a very chaotic first lap, but everyone seems to be in one piece. Another car going wide over there. Jamie's going to make up that place by the looks of it. And yeah, it's just been a little bit chaotic, but I think we were sort of expecting with a fast car starting at the back.
I mean, these race starts are always going to be chaotic, especially when everyone wants to try and win the race into turn number 1. 15 minutes is not a lot of time, and you're gonna want to fight your way through the pack and pull off a significant lead. There's always some sort of a spin that happens on the last lap at Simracing. It's always good to have a bit of a buffer to the driver behind. Battle for P2 is spicing up now. Amit is pulling away in all of this chaos, but Abhishek is having to defend from Kake as he was in the previous race, and Sai Prithvi is waiting. He's lurking in the background, just hoping to make a spot. Kake goes around the outside. Abhishek squeezed on the tighter line. He's not getting a good exit, but Kake is missed out once again. And Davli Singh and Sai Prithvi, your two leaders from the previous race, are now battling it out for potential first place. All this while, the front runner Amit is just starting to build a huge gap to the pack behind, and it's just a matter of time before he builds up a significant gap, and he's quite comfortable out in front.
Yep, the more these guys battle, the more time they lose to Amit. So Amit's sort of having an easy time in the front, but it's Simracing. We all know something can happen.
Yeah, we hope it doesn't, but it's always unpredictable. There's a certain level of unpredictability in motorsport. If it works in your favor, it's serendipity. If it's not, it's very unfortunate. Kake again holding out on the outside. This time he's got Davlish Singh for company, the other purple car. Davlish makes a move, makes it stick on the inside, and then Sai Prithvi is there to pick up the next position. Look at that. Look at how close they're going, just snaking and weaving their way through the main straight. This is what you want to see.
This is exactly
action. That's what you get. That's what you're getting right now.
This is exactly what happens on this track, Saidut. You mess up or you go offline on one corner and then you're left exposed for the rest of the lap.
Yeah, there's a brilliant camera view here on Sai Prithvi's point of view. Takes the inside line, gets the move done on Kake. Now he's gonna want to stick to Davli Singh. Remember, Davli started pulling away in the previous race. Sai Prithvi cannot afford to let him do that. So these two drivers might want to work together if they have to catch up with Amit, because before that they need to get past Abhishek. Let's see what the strategy is here. Are they going to work together, or are they going to leave one or the other, hanging out to dry by the end of this battle?
Well, wisdom says they should slipstream each other, give each other the help they need, but hey, they are racing drivers at the end of the day. They want to make up the positions.
Yeah, it's really a question though whether they can afford to do that with Amit out front. Amit doesn't seem to be pulling away anymore, so maybe he just benefited from all the carnage on lap number 1. That gap has been around, floating between 2 and 3 seconds for the past one lap.
Yeah, it's not a pull away victory like we saw Davlish doing in the race 1, but he's still got a 3-second gap, so it's sort of comfortable. I wouldn't get too comfortable, but I think he can afford to take it a little easy.
Yeah, he's still got company right behind. I don't think Sai Prithvi is letting that position go. Not quite yet. He's still in slipstream. He's still in that slipstream window. I believe once you're out of that 1.52 second gap, that's when you start losing the slipstream. So he still has it, but Davlish just has this advantage. He's doing something particular with his driving style, making it stick in these slow speeds. You can see he's consistently gaining in those particular corners. Although it looks like Sai Prithvi might have the better braking performance in this race.
Yes, that is true. Sai Prithvi seems to be more confident on the brakes, and plus he's got the advantage of slipstream down the straight. So, but with that said, last lap Davlish was the fastest. He put in the fastest lap time yet in this race. So it's going to be interesting, no doubt.
Absolutely. The gap between Davlish and Abhishek is also staying quite consistent. So these three drivers locked into contention for P2, potentially the last podium spot as well. Jamie Shaw, a good 4 seconds behind that pack, but he's got Kake and Danny Thomas right behind him for company. It's another battle that's brewing and will potentially brew over in the next few minutes. As you see Davlish on your screen making his way around the final corner for about the third time, I believe, in this race, as they make their way down the main straight. There you see that green car of Amit, a good way away from the rest of the pack. The red car is Abhishek's. He's holding his ground quite well. He's got two fearsome drivers right behind him, but he's got the pace. I don't think he's conceded even a few tenths to those drivers in the past one lap.
Amit's very smooth through these turns. Either he's trying to maximize the amount of momentum, and I think that's helping him staying ahead.
Certainly seems to be the case. I believe he's driving on controller, if I'm not mistaken, for this particular race. So that's some impressive driving from him right there. See, the inputs are smooth, but they are a little bit jerky at times, which tends to happen when you're using an analog stick. But he's managing to hold his ground, throwing it into the hairpins. Something interesting to know is rapid direction changes are actually easier to do on a controller as compared to a wheel. You'll see this on certain other tracks like Suzuka or tracks with a lot of flowing corners. You tend to see controller players having a bit of an advantage, or a bit of speed advantage in such corners, as opposed to the steering wheel drivers. But in this track, you don't have too many of those. They're just hairpins. So it's even more impressive to be out there in the front of the pack with a controller.
And Davlish Singh is closing up. I think this is the closest he's been so far. Let's see if he can pull in a move this lap. Can he go into P2?
He's gotten the fastest lap and he's dropped by about a second behind him. And he's closed the gap to Abhishek, so it's really him just hunting Abhishek down. I mean, if he gets past Abhishek, there's no reason for him not to go after Amit. There's still 6.5 minutes left in the race. 6.5 minutes might be a short amount of time, but sometimes when you're in that car, it can feel like an eternity, especially when you're locked into a battle and you're trying to defend position. We can't discount Sai Prithvi either. He's also starting to catch up with this pack. So the top four are certainly coming closer together now. That gap to Jamie has dropped almost 6 seconds from 4 seconds the previous lap. So looks like P5 to 8, they're all kind of struggling compared to the top four drivers. But if something were to happen to the top four drivers, I mean, any of them could also pick up the pieces.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Abhishek's line actually through that corner. He was wider, but I don't think Davlish really made up too much time on him. So these drivers do have slightly different lines, I think. But hey, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, it's really a question of how much they understand the car and how much they trust the car more than anything else. Of course, it's open setup, so the drivers are allowed to change the setups as they please. So it has a lot to do with that as well, the way they've set up the car. Sometimes you set up the car to get the entry better than the exit. Other times you want maybe you want to have a super slippery car all throughout the corner. It really depends on your driving style. Davlish's car actually looks quite planted everywhere. It seems actually very neutral compared to the other drivers. So he's doing something slightly differently from the others, it looks like.
Looks like we are locked in a slipstream tail from even P1 actually. If you see, the gap is closed down, Saidut. Amit is no longer the 3 seconds he was. It's less than a second now.
Definitely, it is that slipstream, like you said. They're just starting to bunch up together. I mean, this is going to be a four-way fight for the victory. I mean, I didn't expect that to be the case when this race started. So this is about as good as it gets, everybody. 4 people trying to battle it out for P1. 4.5 minutes left. Roughly 2 or 3 laps left in the race. Anything can happen.
Amit has the position. All he has to do is keep it clean. Keep it clean, and he should be able to pull off this race victory. But the guys behind have been fast. They have been closing. and they aren't really as locked in battle as you would expect them to be. So yeah, it's anyone's victory this.
Yeah, it's brilliant camera angle there. And as you say that, I think these drivers are all actually bunching up a lot closer. I believe Tavlish might be attempting a move maybe out of the next corner, riding on board with Abhishek.
Yes.
There you go. Tavlish going on the outside. He's got to still stick on the outside for the next corner as well. Does he dare to brake later than Abhishek? He does. Abhishek has a bit of a twitch, doesn't run into Tavlish. That was a relief over there. Looks like everyone got through cleanly, but unfortunately for Abhishek, he's lost a position to Tavlish. He's making that maneuver again though. This is a battle for the lead as well. Look at that.
Yeah, for the lead. He's going for the lead. He could be in the lead in 3 corners. He's definitely close. He's gonna go for it.
A little bit of a tap there, almost looked like Tavlish preferring to stick on the outside. Is he just waiting for the switchback? Yes, he does. He takes the inside line at the end of that corner. Amit is on the outside. He's going to have to concede that position. There you go. Tavlish takes the lead in this race. Abhishek is right behind this pack, and Sai Prithvi is right there as well. I think he's just holding back a little bit, waiting for something to happen. Looks like Tavlish is starting to pull away, but Abhishek is under pressure from Sai Prithvi, and Amit is under pressure from Tavlish.
Oh, and this contact, Saidut. Tavlish was doing a fantastic job. He made up all those positions. Abhishek trying to follow him, made contact with Amit, and that's dropped Amit down to P4 now.
Absolutely unfortunate. We did not want to see a collision for the top 4 over there battling for the lead, but it looks like Abhishek and Amit have clashed with each other, and Amit's lost a good chunk of time there, about 1 or 2 seconds to this pack. I'm surprised Sai Prithvi didn't gain anything in that little collision over there, because well, he didn't gain it over there. He tried to gain it on the gravel trap. It didn't quite work out for him, and he's again lost that precious amount of time. His rival from the first race, Tavlish Singh, is way out front, and if he wants to reduce the gap to Tavlish, he's gonna have to overtake Abhishek this lap.
With 2 minutes to go, he needs to make up 2 positions. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it certainly is looking tough right now, especially after his excursion into the gravel trap this lap. Well, let's see what he can do.
He's going to have to get some of that dust and gravel off the tires, weave it a bit on the straights, just let the tarmac do its work on that rubber. But it seems to have gotten the grip back. He's not gaining it anywhere though, as you see Tavlish up ahead over there. You can see from the smoke of the tires and the brakes that's him up there. Sai Prithvi can see him. He wants that race victory, but he has to get past Abhishek first. Even if he gets past him, he's no longer within slipstream range of Tavlish. So the only way he's going to make up that time is by out-driving him.
That was good. That was good reflexes by Sai Prithvi.
Yeah, for starters, he at least outdrove Abhishek, who maybe drove the car a bit too much, asked a bit too much from that piece of machinery, completely spun the car out, and he's lost position to Sai Prithvi and Amit, and now he's under pressure from Jamie, who's right behind. Remember, his tires are going to be pretty hot after that spin. There you go, he loses a bit more grip, fishtails out of that corner, straight into the wall, rear end damaged, and everything has gone wrong for Abhishek in this lap.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. The thing with these tires, this tire model that Assetto Corsa has, is that if you heat up the tires, it really you lose your grip completely, and it takes a lot of time to actually cool the tires down. So I think he's just struggling a bit with his tire temps right now, and unfortunately, that's dropped him from P2 all the way down to P5.
It feels a bit like maybe they're trying to simulate some sort of a flat spot effect on the tires, which I don't think is there in the game. So this is the way they try to do it. Maybe with, I mean, you'll inevitably heat up the tires when you lock up like that. Maybe they overdo it a bit just to penalize you a bit more, since they can't really simulate a flat spot. One driver who really doesn't care about flat spots or anything right now is Tavlish. Sai Prithvi, on the other hand, is hoping for Tavlish to make a mistake, because this is the final lap, the final chance he's got to overtake Tavlish. They're going through the penultimate sequence of corners. They've just got the S's and the final corner left. Looks like this is what the order is going to be by the end of this race. There you go through the S's. Tavlish out in front, going around the final corner to go ahead and win the second race as well. So he's won both sprint races this evening, taking a massive haul of points there. Sai Prithvi right behind him, 5.5 seconds. Amit behind him, 9.7, having inherited P3 after that spin. Jamie Shaw right behind him taking away P4. Kake all the way back. So it looks like Abhishek has lost out to both Kake and Danny. So maybe off screen, Abhishek had some more off track adventures, unfortunately for him. That's what the order stands like. Kake rounding off the top 5 for the race.
Yep, extremely exciting and interesting race this Saidut. And if this is the quality of driving, I think we are in for a real treat over the next couple of days.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. But don't worry about the lack of any more races today. This was just the first grid, the 2 sprint races for the first grid. We've got more sprint races. We've got 2 more sprint races for grid. All right, so almost there, about to start second grid with the first sprint for them. As we said, just waiting up for the practice session to come to an end.
Yep, once the practice session is done, we'll jump right into qualifying, and we are going to see some of the best drivers in India take. Saidot, I don't know, man. What are you expecting from this grid?
I'm just expecting some good, clean racing, honestly. That's all I really want to see. But yeah, I mean, we jump straight into practice. It's good to see a bit of practice before, I believe, a 10-minute qualifying session. And that's why you can see on the grid, not many people have populated the grid slots yet. They're just trying to get their way into the server. But what can I expect from this race? Just clean racing. That's what I would hope. I don't know really what to expect until we see the qualifying pace.
Yep, with around 7.5 minutes of practice to go, we do seem to have a few drivers trying to perfect their setups, trying to get in the laps, get themselves warmed up for qualifying. Let's see how they go.
Yep, just testing some of the limits of the car over here. So still quite off pace compared to the previous grid, I believe. I think they're all just out laps right now. Avinash Gupta seems to be on his flying lap because his out lap time is already on the leaderboard. So this will be the first reference of what these drivers can do from grid number 2. You can see him making his way through the final corner. Is that the final corner? I'm sorry, that's not the final corner. That is turn number 7, I believe, the long hairpin, going through to turn number 8, and then a quick run up until another heavy braking zone.
Yeah, yep. It's so important to be late on the brakes, but not lock up your brakes or run wide on these turns. Because what you want to do is maximize your exit speed at this corner, the final corner. You want to have as much input speed and exit speed as you can. Because what it does is it leads you onto this massive long straight where you want to have your car at full throttle all the time.
Yep, and the faster you start that long straight, the quicker you'll reach the top speed, and effectively the faster you'll be overall. You'll be covering that distance in the least amount of time possible, which is what racing is all about, doing that within the limits of the car and the limits of the track space you have around you. Not taking drivers out, that's the best way to, I mean, that is perhaps the only way to really go about it. The cleanest way to go about it. But yeah, we're starting to see some competitive times now on the leaderboard. We've got 33s over here. I believe we saw 31s in qualifying in the previous race. So there's still a bit of time to make up for these drivers.
Well, they're still just getting themselves warmed up, getting the sit-ups right, and I'm sure by the time qualifying comes in, we'll be well into that time.
Absolutely true. 100% there. It's just about kind of eking out the performance of these tires, finding out the limits of these cars as they make their way through what is quite honestly a green track right now. It's not quite rubbered in yet. That's one thing that AC simulates, Assetto Corsa simulates track generation over time. So the more laps these drivers do on the track, the faster they'll be in the subsequent sessions. You can see the relative time over there. Dushyant already beyond the fastest time. He's about 2.92 seconds behind Avinash Gupta right now, looking at that pace. And that shows you the delta, basically, the time difference between what Avinash had done on his lap at that point compared to what the driver you're being shown on the screen, the driver being shown on the screen has done. It always takes the best lap as reference, so it's quite an interesting tool to look at, quite a good visual cue for you to know whether the driver you're supporting, the driver you're rooting for, is faster or slower than the fastest time.
And we are on board with Ojas Survey. Saidut, would you want to take us through the lap?
Yeah, I believe it'll be better to maybe jump onto a flying lap when they start a new one. So maybe you can see if one of the other drivers are somewhere close to starting a flying lap. It'd be a good reference to run through a circuit, which obviously we didn't get a chance to go through in detail. So hopefully you can see a good flying lap from one of these drivers who can keep it on the tarmac, hopefully. I mean, it's Prathamesh. Prathamesh is first out lap, so he's just getting used to the car.
He's flying, but not on the track, Saidut.
Yep, certainly. Maybe Piyush Gandhi would be a good reference. He's the fastest. Piyush or Avinash. How about we jump on board with Avinash after he crosses the line this time by, and it'll give us a better idea of some of the peculiarities, some of the interesting features of all these corners.
Yep, it's indeed a very interesting track. As you mentioned previously, that some of these corners are off camber, which unsettles the car, and that's why these drivers are trying to work. They are having to work extra. They are having to find the limits, find their grip, and then make a move.
100%. So I think we've got Dushyant here who's about to start his flying lap. He's just finishing off his first flying lap. Let's ride on board with him this lap and see how this track looks from a driver's perspective. Okay, that's how a very fast final corner looks from a driver's perspective. As he jumps back on, he's not really gonna have a lot of grip now. But anyhow, let's just see what he does on this lap. So you go down the main straight of the circuit, then just take a slight left-hander, followed by turn two, which is a bit of a right-hander over here. It's almost like a flat-out fast chicane sequence. That's Curva Grande, followed by turn number 3. Now you want to maximize your speed here, heavy on the brakes for an effective double apex corner here. Chimney 1 and 2, which Dushyant takes a bit too fast. I think we'll need to wait for another driver to perhaps pick up their tire temps before we go on a flying lap, because this is a really cool track and I want us to run on board for a continuous lap to see the limits of the car. I believe maybe it's a better idea to wait for quali, because that's when drivers will start pushing it a bit to the limit while still being a bit cautious. That's the best time really see how these drivers are taking the different lines. For now, let's just observe the track from a third person perspective, from trackside perspective, because Vishal, honestly, it's a really beautiful track. It's just really well laid out, so compact but still fast and flowing.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like a lot of fun to drive. I'm sure these drivers are having a time of their life. Uh, it certainly is extremely beautiful, and it's just a nice flowing sort of fast track, because there's so many straights, there's so many turns, hairpins, heartbreaking zones. It's a lot of fun.
Certainly is, as Dushyant goes on to do another lap right now. He's going around, yes, that is the final corner, the banked corner, corner 15 Roma. As he goes by, he should have much better tire temps this time by. And expect a good flying lap from Dushyant this time. I'm not sure why the timer, however, didn't reset, because it's showing about 3 minute 35 and he did cross the line. So maybe that's just a glitch from the game. Looking at the practice server clock, there's only 50 seconds left on the server, so that could be a timing glitch.
Yep, about 45 seconds to go, and I hope these drivers have perfected their setups, have got all warmed up, and are set for qualifying.
Yeah, and looking at the pace, the top 3 certainly are quite close to each other, all in the 33s, separated by 3/10. You've got P4, who's a couple of seconds off P3, and then another 2.5 seconds to P5 from P4. Prathamesh, of course, hasn't put a lap yet. That's a banker lap. He's not yet put a full flying lap on the leaderboard, so we're not quite sure of Prathamesh's pace. Of course, Dushyant also pushing to put his first lap on the board. But since practice is almost done and the timing glitch is there on the screen, we'll probably have to wait for qualifying. So, if Dushyant can also put his car up there in the top 3, we could have another really fierce top 4 battle, just like the previous race. Awesome. So quali is about to start in another about 20 to 30 seconds as we just wait for the camera to pan back onto the track. Um, Vishal, who do you think is going to take pole? Let's have a bit of a prediction game.
That's gonna be tough, man. All these drivers are so talented, are so quick. As we saw in the last race, it's anyone's game. You had people starting from the back that come and win. It's really going to be whoever can manage to keep their car on track is going to win this race. It's just going to be one of those races.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. It looks like the top three, like we saw, are all within like 3/10. So when it comes to quali pace, 3/10 is really not too big, especially when you're looking at cars this slower on a track like this. I mean, relatively slow compared to much faster open wheel cars. 3/10 is not a big deal. So any of these top three drivers for sure can take pole. But you can't discount the rest because I don't think everyone's put their fastest lap yet in practice.
Yeah, and it's such a interesting track where it's so flowing, it's so fast. Like you can make up so much time or lose so much time in a single braking zone. So I think if the drivers can keep it together, well, it's anyone's pole.
Just a bit more that we need to wait to see what these drivers can do. Remember, we've got 2 sprint races after this qualifying session. It's only a 10-minute quali session, so these drivers really need to get a move on, and they need to really put a banker lap on board as quick as they can, and then focus on putting some fast flying laps just to make sure they've got enough of a buffer. But 10 minutes is not a lot of time for qualifying. There we go, jumped straight into it. 9.5 minutes left, and looks like Avinash Gupta is the first one out on track on his outlap. Dushyant right behind him, a decent gap. And then a car right behind Dushyant is going to probably be getting the slipstream. Who is that car? I believe that was Piyush Gandhi behind. No, that's Piyush Gandhi here on the purple car. There is a blue car, however, in P3 right now on track. And we just need to wait for them to put their laps on. So the leaderboard doesn't really show the drivers until they put at least an out lap on the leaderboard. So we're just going to have to wait maybe another 20 or 30 seconds, make sure all these drivers get past and start their flying lap to see them on the leaderboard.
Yadav unleashed in the other blue car, the light fluorescent blue car. Well, I think he is definitely in with a chance, as we saw in practice. Saidut, what is your take?
We need to wait and see because everyone had similar pace. But yeah, Yadav Unleash has potential there to grab away pole position as well. You've got Ojas as well on screen right behind. Everyone started their flying lap right now. I believe we only have 7 or 8 drivers on this grid. So it's going to take a while for everybody to get up to pace. But let's again ride on board with Ojits as he starts his first flying lap. So we've gotten through the first 2-3 corners before. We're going to reach corner number 4 and 5. It's essentially a double apex once again. I think that corner is really catching people out right now. And the track is not yet rubbered in enough to maximize the grip over there. Got the next driver going through that corner. There we go. Yadav Unleash has managed to do it, getting through turns 4 and 5, Chimeni 1 and 2. It's a double apex. Get back on power for this long back straight. So you've got a heavy braking zone at the end of this for turn number 7. You want to brake somewhere around that 100-meter board right after that signal light over there on the top. Go around this corner. You want to clip the inside. It's reasonably flat, so you don't have to worry about it being off cambered. Maximize your exit through Campagnano over there. Now a small little burst of speed as you brake once again in turn number 8, about 50 degrees on the inside. That's the corner angle through Sorate. Another small little burst of speed as you take turn number 9, quite easily flat with these cars. Curve the car back, straighten it out as you get into turn number 11, Semaforo. You want to be really careful over here. You see how the car's dropping a bit. You want to make sure your brakes are biased correctly into that corner. Once again, good exit as you turn left into Torrentino for turn number 12. This is the last part of the technical section. You've just got a couple of corners left. This is the SA section, basically 2 S's, a fast chicane if you may, as you get a good exit over there on the AstroTurf. Be sure not to go on the gravel trap ride along the camber of the track. This is where you really need to maximize your exit, but not spin out. Go around turn number 15, Roma, get a good exit. What can Yadav Unleashed do as per the leaderboard? He puts it 1 minute 34.544, about 1.15 seconds off the current pole lap.
Yep, current pole lap being held by Piyush Gandhi, a 1 minute 33.3. Ojas, unfortunately, we saw him spin out on the previous lap, so let's see what he can do. Currently, we are on board with Piyush Gandhi.
Piyush Gandhi, also the current pole sitter, still pushing to increase that advantage right now from about. He's got less than a hundredth of an advantage to P2, so he's really going to have to push over there. Who else on board? Okay, Prathamesh has put 1 minute 34.3. 2/10 away from him is Yadav Unleashed. Dushyant's another 1.5 seconds behind. And then you've got Garvit Agarwal, who's also jumped into the server. So let's see what Garvit can do.
And just as you say that, Garvit puts it on pole with a 133 flat, Saidud.
133 flat indeed. That was a flying lap from Garvit. So he's pulling away from P2 right now. It's going to be a battle between Garvit and Piyush. Potentially Avinash, Prathamesh Yadav and Dushyant have to put faster laps right now. I think they're still testing the limits of the car, but I really can't discount anybody right now. Once everybody starts getting to the 1 minute 34s, the race is a completely different story as we saw before. And as I say that, Piyush Gandhi gets into the 1 minute 32s. So does Ojas. Looks like everyone is just slowly building up the momentum. Mind you, only got about 4.5 minutes left on the clock, so you can't really experiment anymore right now.
Yeah, I think the track's all rubbered in. It's reached the maximum it can, and these guys are really now starting to put in the laps. They have the confidence, they have the grip, so they are really going for it now.
Garvit starting the push. He's surely seen the lap time on the leaderboard from his sim. He's going to want to push to get into potentially the 1 minute 31s, because that was the pace which the previous grid was doing in quali. So if some of these drivers go on to the grand finale, they would want to have that sort of pace as their target, so as to be quite competitive in the grand finale grid, which will be on Monday, by the way. But let's see what Garvit does this time. He's already quite fast. Since he's faster in his previous lap.
He was about half a tenth up, Saidud, through the middle sector. So let's see what he can do, and that's a 132 flat.
8/10. There you go, the 132 flat, 8/10 clear of the competition. So he set the benchmark right now. Everyone else is starting to search for some time, eke out a bit of advantage from these tires, eke out something that can help them from these corners. They don't have much time to do it though. They're going to have to get a move on right now.
Yep, 3.5 minutes to go with the lap time of 1.5. I think they can probably put in 2 more laps. So let's see. This is the final 2 laps they are going to be able to put in.
So we've got Avinash Gupta, who is still in the 1 minute 33s, trying to find his way into the 1 minute 32s. And then the drivers at the back still pushing the car, slowly building up the speed. Let's see what everyone can do. It'd be really great to see everyone closely packed for the final couple of sprint races this evening.
And once again, on board with Ojas, he is currently in P3. I'm sure he's trying to push as hard as he can. Unfortunately, his delta doesn't seem to be showing any improvement.
It's about a 9/10 delta deficit from Garvit Agarwal, who, by the way, is 2/10 faster than his previous lap. So this guy is pushing it hard, just trying to clear the close competition by another 1 or 2 tenths. By the looks of it, everyone else slowly putting their lap times. Again, there's a timing glitch. I'm not quite sure what it is that's happening over there, but it's definitely registering the lap times for Dushyant. So Dushyant could potentially also take a pole position over here. He's got to chop off some time. Piyush Gandhi wrestling his car through that corner. Avinash Gupta starting another lap. Those are turns number 4 and 5, the Chimeni sequence. Ojas also starting his flying lap, coming up to that same sequence of corners.
Yep, indeed, 2 minutes to go, and everyone is now pushing. You can see it. Everyone's trying to improve their lap times, trying to get that pole. Pole is going to be important, but because it's a reverse grid for race number 2, Saidud, what are your thoughts?
I mean, we saw what happened in the reverse grid in the previous race. Pure carnage. if for lack of any other word. Uh, it really depends. I mean, if you have like huge pace differences, then there's going to be quite a lot of carnage in turn number 4, I believe. That's the first overtaking zone for the track. But it's really difficult to say right now. For all you know, the track is still not in the right window and right zone for these drivers to push. We'll really know the pace of these drivers once race number 1 starts.
Yeah, Ojas running wide there again, and I think that's sort of screwed up this lap for him as well. Not, I don't think he'll be able to get the exit pace he wanted. Well, let's see what he does.
He's got one more lap. He's managed to cross the line before that quali timers run out. Same is going to be the case with Prathamesh. He's on a flying lap. It's about 1.9 seconds off pace right now as he crosses the line. What does that give him? 1 minute 33.768 as he starts his final lap. We've got Yadav Unleashed behind over there, 1 minute 34.5, who's right now on his lap is 2.7 seconds off pace right now. So that's not much of an improvement on his current delta if you add that to Garvit's lap. So Yadav is on a flying lap. Let's see what Dushyant is. He's also on a flying lap currently. There you go, Dushyant's on a current flying lap, 3.13 seconds off the leader's pace. So he's slowly pushing. If he crosses the line, he will get it in the 1 minute 34s, potentially take P5 right now. So let's see what Dushyant can do. He's going through the penultimate sequence of corners, getting into the final corner, turn number 15. That's Roma. This is probably the last car that's going to be crossing the line now for qualifying. Let's see what he can do. 31, 32, crosses the line. Is that going to be 1 minute 35? No, 36.6. So Dushyant's not managed to improve, but he's still got the race up front coming up. Sprint number 1 coming soon, which is waiting for all the cars to finish off the quali laps.
Well, Saidot, qualifying is still, I mean, there are still a few cars out on track, but look at the gap between 1 and 2. It's almost a second.
Indeed, it looks like this is Garvit's race to lose if you look at the speed that he was going at. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. It's always having the pace is one thing, but if you can't stay clear of all the chaos in the beginning of the race, then you're basically out of luck.
Yeah, you need to be extremely cautious, need to be aware of your surroundings, and well, this is the grid for the first race.
There you have it, Garvit Agarwal, 1 minute 31.8, almost 9 tenths clear of his closest competition. Piyush Gandhi, followed by Ojas, who's just a couple of tenths off of him. Then you've got Avinash Gupta, who's about 5 tenths off Ojas, followed by Prathamesh, another 3 tenths. Then you've got Yadav Unleashed and Dushyant rounding off the last 2 drivers on the grid slot. So that would be a good way to maybe stay out of trouble as well into the turns, into the following turns. Just really excited for this race, just hoping we see some good clean racing.
Yep, I'm expecting some good clean racing. These guys have found all the grip they can. They have really optimized their setups. They are really pushing their cars but staying within the limits. So I'm really looking forward to an awesome race.
Once again, just waiting for the sim to do its internal countdown on the server before we can jump onto the main grid. So we're just going to have to wait a little bit in anticipation of 2 great races coming up, sprint number 1 and a reverse grid sprint number 2. There we go, back on the grid. There's your pole sitter, Garvit Agarwal, who was quite a big way away from P2 and beyond. So we'll see what he does into turn number 1.
And P2, Piyush Gandhi, Uh, it's going to be a nice little slipstream for him through this initial stages, and then hopefully for his sake he can outbreak Garvit and take that first position.
Whilst he outbreaks Garvit, he's going to have to look in his mirrors to make sure Ojas is not taking advantage of the inside line, because he's P3 right now, followed by the next driver, Avinash Gupta, P4. Those two will be looking to get an advantage and somehow get ahead of the two drivers up front.
Yeah, yes, indeed, Saidut. And you cannot discount anyone on this grid because it's just they just need to keep it clean. And if there is carnage ahead, well, you have won the race.
Yes, Prathamesh, Yadav, and Dushyant at the back are all also in the competition. They just need to keep it clean into turn number 1 and can definitely start making positions. Remember, they've got another race as well after this one to make up more points. So it's anyone's race to lose. We've got 7 cars on the grid, just waiting for the countdown to start. Anything can happen. There you go. We've got the 6 lights on screen over there as the countdown starts. All 6 lights lighting up right now. The engines are revving. Everyone's ready to go. And the lights go off and we're under racing conditions. Decent start from everyone up front. Good start from one of those drivers at the back. Was that... I don't know who that was in the blue car over there. He's got a good jump on Avinash already, and the rest of the pack follows over there. Dushyant making a move on Yadav at the back. Prathamesh making a move on Avinash, almost losing the car, taking him out. And there's a good battle for the lead over here. Just trying to take advantage of the inside again. Piyush running off wide, Garvit out front, getting through cleanly. It looks like everyone's managed to get through without any contact. And as I say that, more wheel banging going on into the next sequence of corners.
Yep, a bit of wheel banging there, but I don't think it's affected either of the drivers too much. Piyush still in second, holding off Ojas, but Ojas seems to be really pushing him. Let's see what's in store for us.
Yep, he's not letting Garvit go away. He's up there. He's trying to make a position as everyone makes their way into the next sequence of corners. It's turn number 8, I believe, as they fly down past the fast turn number 9, getting ready for another heavy braking zone into turn number 10. This is where Avinash needs to start getting in the rhythm if he doesn't want to lose out to the pack up front. The top 3 drivers out front, he can see the podium in his sights, but he can't afford to lose any time right now. This is when you've got to stick with the pack.
Yep, Garvit, let's see. I mean, he was the fastest in qualifying. He almost had a 9/10 of a second advantage. I'm really interested to see if he can actually pull away from this pack.
And you can already see a decent gap built up over there. Once everyone crosses the line, we'll get a good idea of the delta or the relative times between these drivers. But Garvit is right now pulling away quite significantly. Look at that, 2.5 seconds with just 1 lap done. 13 minutes on the clock, a good 5 or 6 laps of racing yet to go.
Yep, Piyush needs to really get a move on. Garvit is otherwise going to run away with this victory. He's trying. He is trying to stay within striking distance of Garvit. And even behind, you can see Ojas, Avinash, they both are also still in the fight.
Yeah, Prathamesh is trying to drop a little bit, and then Dushyant has overtaken Yadav and he's trying to charge through the pack as well. So everyone's trying to build up some of the gaps that have, rather close down some of the gaps that have been formed here on the grid. Piyush making his way through that corner, locking up a little bit. You can see from the rear view camera that he's pulling away from Ojas slightly in these slow speed sequences. Once again, Ojas braking a little better. It seems very similar to the battle between Davlesh and Sai Prithvi from the previous grid.
Yep, I think Garvit has really started to drop Piyush. Ojas is catching up to Piyush, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it's going to be a close fight. At least for 2, 3, 4, definitely we can look forward to having a great fight.
Yeah, we saw a great fight indeed in the second sprint for the previous grid. So, you can't really discount anything happening as well. You've got everyone from P2 all the way to like P5 in contention of that podium spot, with P6 and 7 also in the mix. They just need to pick up the pace a little bit, close up that gap, but they can definitely take advantage of any potential carnage up front, any potential spin outs or unfortunate incidents. Anything can happen. We've got about 11 minutes on the clock. That's a brilliant shot there. You can see almost 5 cars in the camera view over there. It's just looks really cool with all the inline slipstreaming going on until they reach the corners. That's where it really depends on who can break the latest, who can get the best exit. You see everyone getting a decent exit this time by Avinash, just lining up Ojas for a potential move. He lost out at the start. He doesn't want to lose out anymore as he just claws his way back.
Well, he is trying to close that gap. He just needs to keep it. He needs to keep it in control. It's very easy for drivers to go beyond their boundaries, beyond the capability of their cars, and then lose it. And then you're dropping all the way down to the bottom. So as long as he keeps it within check, I'm sure Ojas is within striking distance.
Certainly is indeed. It's only about 2 seconds, and that's not a lot of time looking at some of the battles we had in the previous races. Avinash also less than 2 seconds away from Ojas, so he's definitely up there. The gaps are unfortunately starting to build though from Avinash onwards. Prathamesh a good way behind. So everyone's just kind of getting in their rhythm right now. Garvit is in his own zone, looks like. Maybe his own world. He's about a couple of corners ahead of everybody else at any given time.
Yep, it's a nice buffer to have as a driver. You do want to battle, you do like the wheel-to-wheel action, but when you're winning a race, you want the least amount of pressure on you, and you just want a clean race.
Everyone going cleanly through that sequence. Let's see what the gaps look like right now. It's constantly varying because the delta, it's dynamic. Every millisecond it's updating over there. So just going to have to wait for everyone to kind of reach an equilibrium through these corners to really get an idea of what the true delta between the cars is. All the deltas are between these cars. Or just making his way through. He's starting to lose out a bit to Piyush right now. That gap has built up a bit over 2 seconds effective, and he's losing out a bit to Avinash behind. So that gap is closing out. So I wonder if Ojas is just losing some of the grip in his tires, or if he had some sort of an issue in one of those corners off screen. Either way, he surely lost some time to the cars up ahead and the car behind.
I wonder if he's just overheated his tires, Saidut, because we do know that once you heat up the tires, you will lose grip. So it might just be a matter of just cooling, like driving a bit below the limit of the car and getting it cooled down. Here we are riding on board with our leader, Garvit Agarwal. Well, he doesn't seem to be having any problems, does he?
Nope, he's just had clean track in front of him from the beginning of the race, and he continues to do so. It's just a hot lap qualifying session for him. It's a qualifying lap, as they call it, a hot stint, where he just keep pushing and getting faster laps. He's just in his own zone. It's not really a race for him. He's just practicing his driving skills for potentially upcoming grand finale if he wins both these races, and if he's effectively the leader of the points. It looks to be the case right now, looking at that gap to the cars behind. If it weren't for that fence, he could probably see the cars coming from the other side into that hairpin.
Yep, he's built up a 4.5 second gap by the looks of it, and well, you can see in that shot there's absolutely no one around him.
Yeah, he's just got miles in front of him and behind. Brilliant camera angle. Look at that. Just gives you an idea of the sort of lines he's taking. It would be actually interesting if next time when we reach these corner sequences, we can go one car at a time through the same corner just to see what sort of lines they're taking. It'll give you an insight to maybe the driving style of these cars, the driving style of these drivers, and then the sort of setups they potentially be running for these cars.
Yep, Saidut, what do you think? I by the looks of the track, you don't want to have too much of downforce, like in the aero. But when it comes to the hairpins, you do really need good mechanical grip.
And we've got a lot of straights, so having a lot of downforce gives you the unnecessary drag as well, which you certainly don't want. And there are a lot of technical corners, so you would want to run a softer rear end. But I don't know. We saw turn number, what is it, those two corners, right? Turns number 4 and 5. The double right
Yeah, yeah,
hand is catching
the
people
double
off.
apex.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that looks to be a severe lack of downforce on the rear ends, not enough vertical force on the rear tires. So maybe for the sake of just some of those fast corners, it's worth running that wing and losing a couple of tenths on the straight tops, because if you're in slipstream, then you can always make up some of that potentially lost time. But if you're running out on your own and you don't have enough wing, you're just going to lose out everywhere. So clean set of heels over there for Garvith, just pulling away from the pack behind. Let's jump on board with one of the other cars, see how they're taking it. Someone's gone wide there. That was a red car.
that
Is
looks
that
like the red car of Ojas. He's gone wide. He's dropped down to P4. Avinash, I think his patience has paid off, and he's got up into the podium spots.
well said right there? He was certainly waiting for a while now, and it seemed to have played into his favor, whilst Ojas, on the other hand, is lost out by taking a bit too much, asking a bit too much from the rear tires at the exit of that chicane and just going completely wide, snapping the rear of the car and overloading the front, snapping that into the gravel as well. It's just a chain reaction once you lose grip on any of these tires. It really depends on how you brake into the corners. And now Ojas is playing the catching game here. He's going to have to brake later than Avinash in every single corner to make up that time.
It's quite a weird feeling actually. I've been in this position before, and you want to brake as late as possible, but then you see your tires not having enough grip. You're trying to cool them, so it's a very tricky situation. Ojas is struggling. You can see that over here as well.
It seems to be like he's getting a bit desperate now to make up that time. It's just asking too much from the tires once again, locking up the fronts into the corner, and then in that scenario, the flip case, just kicking the rear out because the fronts have no grip, and the front tires have no grip, and the rear tires are the ones that get overloaded. So it's just it's a chain reaction. These cars are definitely on a knife edge, and they've been set up in such a way. They've been designed in such a way. These are precision instruments. They've got to be used just within their limits to maximize performance. Otherwise, you're losing out on both fronts. So you're just gonna have to be patient, like you said. I think Ojas just pushed a bit too much in that lap, and he's already lost a huge chunk of time to Avinash.
Meanwhile, Saidot, the lead ahead is a 9 second. There's a 9 second gap. That's with 3.5, almost 4 minutes to go actually. I don't think that's really going to come down. What do you say?
Garvith can afford to lose 3 seconds per minute of this race and still comfortably finish the race ahead of the rest of the pack. He's definitely got it in the bag, I would say. I mean, anything can happen, but even if he does spin, he's still got a huge gap to the cars behind. What is happening to that delta? It's once again started dropping over there. Can we ride on board with Garvith, see if something happened to him? I doubt it. Looking at how much the delta is varying, could just be, again, the delta updating a bit too often. Yeah, he looks to be having a decent, very clean race up front. He's not having any issues, and it looks like everybody's been spaced out to such an extent that I don't see any battle building up in the final 2 minutes of the race.
Yep, it really seems like that. Everyone's found their own space. They've found their own place on the track, and well, they're just maintaining the gap now. I think they're really looking forward, like me, to race number 2, where the grid's going to be all shuffled up, and we can see some really good action.
Yeah, race number 2 is where all the action is going to be right now, because it looks like everyone's just in their zone, albeit a few squirrely cars out there. Some cars really twitching the rear end. I saw Prathamesh a bit some time back having a bit of an issue over there. Is that Ojas and Avinash once again having a little battle over there? It looks like Avinash is the one that got a little squirrely over there, lost a bit of time, and now Ojas is on his heels. So once again, we've got a battle in the closing stages of the race. This is going to be interesting to watch.
Oh yeah, this is fun, and this is a brilliant camera angle. You can see Ojas trying to tuck into the slipstream over there, trying to reduce the amount of drag his car is getting, and a bit of a late move there, but Avinash seems to have held it, and Ojas goes wide again.
There we go. He pushed it a bit too much on the inside. Remember, Ojas got the inside line. It's a much tighter radius to take for that corner. And if you take the same speed as you would on the outside, you will spin the rear out. That's what happened to Ojas that time. At least he didn't understeer into the car up front and take him out as well. But that's completely ruined Ojas' race right there. He's lost a huge chunk of time to Avinash. And I think that's given a decent amount of breathing space for Avinash up front. Potential overtaking opportunity for Prathamesh as well. It's gonna have to wait and see what the gap is to Ojas up front.
Yeah, I think Avinash now has sufficient breathing room. The P3 should be in the bag. And Ojas, after that spin, unfortunately, Prathamesh is also closing up on him, so he might just end up losing another position.
Yeah, it's 2 seconds, and if Ojas' tires are beyond the temperature range they should be at, he's gonna lose more grip. Last lap, this time by everyone's going to be starting their last lap, and this is now Prathamesh's fight for for position 4. P4 is up for grabs. P3 is starting to pull away from Ojas. P2 is in the middle of nowhere, and P1 is a mile ahead of everyone else. We can't discount Dushyant either over here because he's just a bit behind Prathamesh. So if these two tussle, Dushyant could potentially take P4 as well. Yadav unleashed, of course, way at the back. He might have had a crash or some sort of technical issue because he's 120 seconds, there's about a 2-minute gap. So he's already been lapped by a few cars. But he's always got the second race to make up,
Yeah, he will be starting on pole in the second race, and he definitely should have the pace. We saw in qualifying as well, he wasn't too far off. So let's see, and track position is always preferred, Saidud.
Exactly. If you can get away cleanly through turns number 4 and 5, the choke point basically on the circuit, if you can get away from all the potential overtaking mishaps that could happen over there, you could definitely run away from the pack. As Garvit goes through the last corner for the final time this race, he takes away the win by 11 seconds. Piyush Gandhi is going to comfortably take P2 as well. He's coming up just behind him around the final corner once again. Avinash Gupta stayed patient, paid the price of waiting, and in return bought himself basically P3, which is what he would be happy for. He'd be happy to take the podium position. Ojas unfortunately just pushed his car a bit too much, was in the wrong place at the wrong time, pushed the wrong amount of throttle into that car and spun it out. He's going to have to take P4 with Prathamesh right behind him. There you go, that's Ojas taking P4, Prathamesh right behind him, Dushyant taking P6, and Yadav settling for P7.
Interesting race there, Saidud. I'm sure quite a few of the drivers would have discovered that you can't really push as much without heating up the tires. You still do lose a lot of grip even if the track is rubbered in. Once you heat up your tires, you are basically sliding on ice.
Yeah, the camber on this track is deceptive, isn't it? It's not as it seems. So you're gonna have to rely more on the force feedback from your wheel rather than just flooring it through some of these banks, because not all of them have the grip that you would expect.
You're just, I think, waiting for Dushyant to finish the race. He's the last driver to cross the line, I think.
It's always good to finish on the lead laps. He makes his way through. I believe that is turn number 11, right? Is that turn number 11 or turn number 7? So one of the long right-hand hairpins. There we go. We've all lined up for the second race for grid number 2, and just waiting for the race to start. It's going to take a bit of time for once again for the server to just reset itself and start the racing sequence, the race countdown sequence rather.
Reverse grid race, Saidut. Again, everyone is starting out of order. Garvit, who was the fastest, who was running away with that victory, is starting towards the back. Yadav Unleashed, for some reason, is behind. I don't really know what's going on, but
I think it's because he didn't complete the race, perhaps, or it didn't register it because he was a lap down. But
yes, that's possible.
Yeah.
Prathamesh is therefore a pole sitter and Ojas P2.
Yeah, I thought Dushyant would be there on poles. I'm not sure where he is on track. Maybe disconnected or something. I don't know. But right now, we've got only 5
Dushyant was in the orange car. Yeah, we can't see him on the grid. So hopefully he'll be back before the start of the race.
Yeah, it'd be good to have a full 7-car grid once again, like before. But yeah, I mean, the sequence is going to start any minute right now. So what you want to look out for is what Garvit is going to do as he finds his way through the field, and see if Piyush can do the same, seeing that he's got good pace as well. There you go. Waiting for the starting sequence to begin. There we go. We've got it. 3, 4, 5, 6 lights up right now. We get ready for the final race this evening. The lights go out and everyone launches off reasonably well. Garvit got a decent launch, but the guys up front have gotten even better ones. Everyone's powering through. Garvit already taking the inside line through that corner, sticking on the left side. Now hung out on the outside. Will he make it stick? Already makes his way into P3. Now has a go at Ojas. Makes his way into P2. Temporarily, he's got a car on the inside.
He's gone wide. A bit wide, but he's still holding on. That looks like P4, and yeah, Ojas in the lead. Piyush Gandhi is fighting for P2 and P3, I think.
There you go. Piyush has made his way up into P2. He's holding on. Garvit's dropped to P4. He's probably just waiting for all of these cars to settle into their rhythm before making a move. Very smart by him. He doesn't want to get involved in any of those mini battles up front. There's already contact over there.
Oh man, that was carnage. That was total carnage.
The worst thing that could happen. We did not want to see that. So basically, there was carnage up front. Garvit braked quite early to avoid it. The car behind ran into him, and now he finds himself in plumb last in P6. Yadav Unleashed is now fighting for the podium. Piyush Gandhi is behind him. And what was the crash? There was someone who ran into that caused that sequence of events. I think it was P3 that ran into P1 in a dive bomb attempt into that corner.
I think P1, which I think was Ojas at that point, had a bit of a moment over there, and everyone trying to avoid him. Garvit, I think, hit the brake, and the guy behind him just didn't expect him to brake, I guess, and well, he's plumb last right now.
So it looks like Piyush, Ojas and Garvit have all missed out on that particular corner, and now they're all playing the catch-up game once again. A good far way behind, so Garvit's a long way behind. If he doesn't have damage, it's going to be quite interesting to see how he fights his way through this grid. Looking at his pace, he could potentially do it. I don't know how much of damage has been enabled in these cars. It could be 0%, or it could be just a fraction of what is realistic. Either way, it doesn't look like there's much damage, because I don't see any front wings broken or any pace disadvantage at the moment. Avinash going too deep into that corner, spinning himself out. He's going to find himself in plumb last by the time he gets back on track. So a lot of chaos in just the first 2 laps of this race.
Yep, Saidut, to finish the race first you need to finish the race, and you need to be on track. This is something that these drivers, I think they're just pushing too hard. They're just trying too hard. And yeah, they're just losing the car.
One driver who unfortunately missed out by taking it a bit cautiously into the first lap, getting rear-ended in that situation. So he's found himself in a battle right now, really testing his racecraft. But I mean, you can already see P1, so it just shows his pace. He's already caught up to this pack. He's got Piyush up front. Piyush, of course, is a fast driver. He won't concede a position that easily. He was the one who was chasing down Gurvit in the previous race, but now he's found himself in P3 defending from him. Both these cars are going to have to find their way up into P1 and 2. Ojas cannot afford to lose the slipstream on this battle because we know that he's got the pace as well.
Yep, Garvit, I think, is lining up a move here. Going around the outside, will he be able to do it on the braking?
Makes it on the outside, breaks a bit earlier, looks like, than Piyush wants to take the switch back, but Piyush defends brilliantly once he gets back on power. It's amazing driving by these two drivers. They managed to keep it super clean. Garvit's going for another move, this time on the inside, not wanting to take the outside line again, but he goes off and backs away a bit. He waits for an overtaking opportunity. Yep, there you go. So Piyush made a move on Yadav up front. He's still making a move on Yadav, by the way, sticking on the outside. Now Yadav's got the inside line. Garvit's on the outside as well. What's going to happen into this turn? So it's good to see Yadav fighting back. A bit of argy-bargy over there, some contact. Garvit making his way through. What happened to Yadav? I think Yadav spun out after that little incident. Garvit's hooking onto the outside, and I mean, how did they get through that cleanly? No one really spun out over there. It's pretty good driving from everyone.
Yep, really good driving. I really expected a crash to come over there, but they've held it. They've held it beautifully, and that's all that matters.
Slick racing from everyone all around. No real contact, a little bit of contact, but no real damage. I don't think anyone's taking that too seriously. There's a lot of smoke there. Did Yadav spin out? Looks like he did. He's way back in last place again. Avinash now fighting through from P5. Don't know what Ojas has been doing. He's been just quietly observing what's happening up here, and Garvit has still not found his way past Piyush, so he's really having to fight for this victory. Takes the inside line into this corner. Is he going to brake earlier? Nope. This time he brakes just as late because he knows going early it's not really going to do him any favors as he gets run wide over there. Not really run wide, but I think both drivers were just understeering on exit, trying to outbrake each other. In all of this, Prathamesh has still managed to hold on to P1. So he's been doing everything he needs to do out there in his blue car up front. We got Ojas hunting down this pack, and Avinash who's just trying to make up for the big lockup he had at the beginning of the race.
Prathamesh is really being helped by this battle. He's able to maintain, and Garvit going a bit late on the brakes. Does he make the corner? Yes, he does. But can he hold on?
Yeah, the job's not yet done because he's got Piyush for company on the inside of that corner. Now as they switch back, it's Garvit who's on the inside. He just has to brake on time and hold it on the inside line. There you go. He's got the launch. And I think if he gets some clean air now, he can start making up ground on the car up front that has been holding the lead position for about 2-3 laps now. You see Ojas over there also making his way through. Looks like these four are going to be battling it out for P1.
Yep. 4 cars, you can see them in one shot, Saidut. This is going to be a really intense battle. We've got 8.5 minutes to go, and this could go all the way to the end.
We saw 4 cars battling it out in the second sprint earlier on this evening. We've got 4 cars now potentially battling it out for the win in sprint number 2 for grid number 2. But as the order stands, Prathamesh holds P1 barely by less than a second. Garvit right there in the rear, you can see from there, he's just lurking there trying to get into that overtaking zone. Just needs to get a bit closer as they go through the double right-hander, and I think he's making his move right now.
He needs to be a bit careful, needs to choose a spot because he's got the pace. He just needs to be clean.
And clean is what he makes that move look like as he goes into the corner, holds the inside line, holds the inside line, and the fastest driver from the previous race has found himself back in P1, having been involved in a little bit of an incident in lap 1 of this race, and now he's going to just have to pull away and keep it clean. So once again, patiently waited for the opportunity, just made everything super clean. That's some class driving by him.
Yeah, I expect him to pull away now. I mean, we saw him doing it in race 1. The battle now for P2 between Prathamesh and Piyush. That's something to look out for.
Certainly is. Piyush just lining him up. So he's going to have to do the same thing Garvit did. Just be patient. Find a point when Prathamesh makes a mistake or just outbrake him into one of these corners. Prathamesh is not giving up either. We can't discount him. He's been holding on up front for a good amount of time. Kudos to him for doing that. He just has to hold on for the rest of this race. About 7 minutes. Say about 4 laps of the race still left to go. Gonna have to defend for 4 laps from Piyush and Ojas. Ojas has been just staying a good 3 seconds behind this battle, so maybe he's just keeping his tires cool. Remember, we saw him pushing a bit too much in the previous race at the end, so he's probably just trying to keep his tires in a better window for race number 2.
Yep, he's perhaps learned his lesson from race number 1, or he's waiting for these guys to screw up and maybe crash into each other.
There is potential for a collision, but I don't think it's going to happen because Piyush has been given a bit of space. Prathamesh also being very respectful of the track space. Sticking on the outside, is he going to slow down and try to take the inside line? No, he does not. He continues on the outside. Piyush going brilliantly off on the left as well. There was some clean racing over there.
Yep, that was good racing, good amount of respect between each other, and giving them just enough space to race.
And as it turned out, you were right. As these guys fought out a bit, or just chopped down that gap to about 1 or 1.5 seconds effective on the Delta screen. So that's good news for Ojas. He just has to stick to this pack. The next car on track for him to overtake will be Prathamesh right up front.
Yeah, Prathamesh unfortunately falling backwards. He was the lead car a few moments ago, and well, he's now under pressure from Ojas as well.
Yep, he's got Ojas for company behind Avinash, who's not managed to chop down the gap which he lost out, which he built himself by going wide in lap number 2. So Avinash has got only about 5 minutes to make up space. And Yadav, we saw him racing quite well in the beginning of the race, but then I think he spun himself out. There we go. He spun himself out a bit into the second lap, and then he's just been dropping ever since. So maybe there's some damage there. Maybe his tires are completely toast. Find himself into the pit lane. So I think he's either coming to repair his car or retire from the car. So wait and see what he does.
Yeah, I think he's just in for a change of tires, and let's see. Hopefully, he rejoins the race.
Yeah, if you can change your tires, get back out. I mean, if you just need to start chopping down the time and wait for something to happen up front, you could still gain a few positions potentially. But right now he's just in the pits. No real way of telling what's happening on his car. There we go. It's probably a quick tire change or a wing replacement as he gets back on track. Always nice to see that. You want to see everyone get back and finish off the race despite having collisions on track. As he gets back out there. Garvit building up that gap already 4 seconds. So he's clean out in front. The gap between Piyush and Prathamesh is closed down. I mean, it's not really built up as quick as we thought. So, Prathamesh is still fighting back. Avinash has overtaken Ojas. So, again, Ojas made a mistake, I presume. But he's lost out a lot to the cars up front now.
Yep, I think he's again struggling with tire temps. Perhaps the setup was not right this race, or he's just been pushing too hard. But at 3.5 minutes to go, around 3.5 minutes to go, Garvit has really pulled out a gap once again. I mean, we sort of were expecting it, but yeah, it's going to be another runaway victory, I think.
Looks to be the case here. That's 6 seconds and increasing with just about 3.5 minutes left on the leaderboard on the race time. So with the 6 second gap, he has pretty much solidified his race win if he can keep it clean. Prathamesh versus Piyush, that battle is not yet over, I don't think. Ojas hunting down Avinash, but he's lost a lot of times. Just an unfortunate couple of races for Ojas. He's been pushing the car a bit too hard, perhaps, in some of these corners. But we know he's got the pace as well. He's just to keep it a bit clean in the next few corners of the next few laps to potentially take away something from this race. And we've got Yadav, who we saw pit, and he's come back out on track 75 seconds behind the leader.
Well, we are on with Garvit once again, making his way through the final corner. He's going to start another lap. He should have 2 more laps, Saidut, I think.
Yep, 2 more laps should be there. It's just about 2.5 minutes left on the leaderboard. These cars go around this track, go around this track in about 1 minute 35 seconds on average. So he's got 2 more laps left in this race. Clean pair of wheels. I mean, look at that. He's just no one in sight on camera. So he's just pulled away brilliantly. Garvit's gonna have to be happy with these 2 races. I mean, He's potentially going to take a double victory, just like we saw Davlish take in the previous grid. Piyush also driving brilliantly well, took P2 in the previous race, set to take P2 in this race as well. You see that gap between him and Prathamesh is built up, so I think Prathamesh just backed off a little bit. He can't afford to do too much of that though, because we know Avinash has got the pace as well. He could be in striking distance by the end of this lap if Prathamesh makes a mistake.
Yep, but I think Prathamesh also sort of has it in the bag. He's probably backed off to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. So let's see. There's still 1.5 minutes to go. Anything can happen. It is sim racing. Let's see what goes on.
Yeah, anything can happen. I think that's the standard saying we need to go by for all these races, because that's what you see in sim racing. It's all about being consistent from start till the end of the race. The most consistent driver, more often than not, gets a good points haul by the end of the day. Anyone who stays out of trouble seems to be having a good couple of races. We saw that last time by. Seems to be the case this time around as well. But great drive from Prathamesh for holding on to P3. He didn't have the best of races in race number 1, but he really managed to turn that around for race number 2. So that's good to see. I don't quite remember where he finished, but he did start off somewhere up front for this race. So yeah, it's quite a good couple of races for him. Effectively, Avinash has dropped back a good long way, and Ojas has completely gone from the leaderboard. So I think he's just retired the car or DNF'd.
Yep, with 15 seconds to go, this is definitely the last lap. Oh, and we have another spinner. Avinash has lost his car. He's spun across the track.
Yep, Avinash has lost the car at that corner, and that's just increased the gap between him and Prathamesh. I don't quite think Yadav's going to overtake him this lap unless Avinash crashes the car or disconnects. So it looks like this is what the finishing order is going to be. Garvit having a brilliant couple of races this evening, taking away victory in the first race, and surely taking away victory in this race. Piyush also getting a double P2 finish. Very similar to the previous grid. We had Davlish and Sai Prithvi taking away good points haul, with Amit also in the midst. Prathamesh should be happy with his P3 as well, taking away a good points haul from these two races. Avinash a good way behind. We saw him spin. It's an unfortunate race that he had this time round. But that's Garvit Agarwal for you on screen, over crossing the finish line and taking away the second victory for the second sprint of grid number 2 for this evening.
Piyush finishing in second, and we have Prathamesh in third. Where is Avinash after his spin? There he is.
Avinash is there about 10 to 12 seconds behind P3. And I just saw the comments here on the broadcast. Ojas said his internet died. It's very unfortunate that his internet died in DNF from this race. He could have taken some more points from that. But, it's unfortunate. Some of these technicalities always surround sim racing, and you just need to hope that it doesn't strike you at the wrong time. But either way, good race from you, Ojas, if you're in the comments. That was brilliant racing out there. Brilliant racing from all these drivers this evening. Just everyone just pushing the car to the limit. That's what you want to see. Cars just being pushed to their absolute physical limit in the sim. Great driving. I would say it's great driving. What do you think about these races, Vishal?
Oh yeah, indeed. We saw all the drivers pushing it to the limits, giving it their best.
Brilliant. So on that note, thank you all for joining us for today's stream. I mean, we've had some really nice racing today. We've got a nice quadruple set of sprint races this evening, and it's going to be the repeat tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have all 4 races broadcasted. We'll be starting at around the same time as planned today. So everyone, please do tune in for that. We will have some some more battles on track. And at the end of all of that, we'll know who the grand finale drivers are going to be for Monday stream. At the end of Monday stream, we'll know who the 2 drivers are that will be going to take part in the finale at Monaco. So on that note, it's been a great experience. It's been a lot of fun watching these races. I'm Saidat Ramesh. I've had Vishal alongside me, and Feroz and Tanuj taking care of the broadcast. We all look forward to seeing you tomorrow. On that note, have a great evening. Enjoy Saturday evening. Stay safe, and we'll see you all soon.